Assalamu alaikum, dear students. How are you? Hope you are well by the grace of Almighty Allah. Alhamdulillah, I am also well. This is my third lecture before you from Bangabandhu College, Rajshahi, and it is of course third lecture from English department. Our today's lecture is on Unit 1, People or Institutions Making History, and Lesson 3, Two Women. Today I shall discuss about two great women of the history before you. They had great achievements in their life. The first one of these two women is Valentina Tereshkova. She was from Russia. She was born in 1937 in central Russia. She was from a poor family. Her father was a tractor driver and her mother was a worker in a textile plant. And as she was from a poor family, she started her school in 1945 at the age of 8. But she left her school in 1953 only after 8 years. And she completed her later education or later learning through distance learning. However, she was very much interested in parachuting and skydiving from the early of her age of her life, and she was so much interested in it that she became engaged, or she got herself admitted into a local aero club in Russia, and she took training on skydiving and parachuting. And when she was only 22 years old, in 1959, she made her first jump of skydiving, and gradually she became completely expert in skydiving and parachuting. And this helped her to become an astronaut in her life. The first man in the space was Yuri Gagarin from then Soviet Union, from Russia. He traveled to outer space in 1961, and later, after the mission of Yuri Gagarin, Russia decided to send a woman in outer space, and then they selected Valentina as a cosmonaut or as an astronaut in 1962. Later, she took some training and became engaged in some tests, and after that, in 1963, she began her first space mission, and the company or the authority decided to send her to outer space in 1963. As a result, she started her flight on the morning of 16 June 1963 and orbited the Earth for about 48 times. She orbited the Earth, that is, she traveled around the Earth for 48 times, and much of the time of her journey, she experienced nausea and physical discomfort in his space shuttle, but yet she completed her mission successfully and became returned to Earth after 3 days of her mission. Then our another woman of the lesson, Kalpana Chawla. She was from our subcontinent. She was born in 1962. Kalpana Chawla completed her earlier schooling at Thakur Bal Niketan Senior Secondary High School, Karnal, India, and then she completed her graduation in aeronautical engineering from Punjab Engineering Institutions and in 1982, and obtained her master's degree in aerospace engineering from University of Texas in 1984. Later, she did her PhD in aerospace engineering in 1988 from the University of Colorado. And Kalpana Chawla started her career as a vice president for computational fluid dynamics, as an expert of computational fluid dynamics in NASA in 1988. This is an interesting event, or this is an amazing event for our subcontinent, or for the whole humanity, because there was a disaster in 1986 which is known as Chernobyl disaster, or a nuclear disaster in 1986. It was a devastating event, or it was a dangerous event in the history, and yet only 2 years of 1986, Kalpana Chawla started her career as a scientist in NASA in 1988. Later, in 1995, she was selected as an astronaut for traveling to outer space, and she completed her first mission in 1997, and it was a mission of about 16 days. At this time, Kalpana Chawla orbited the Earth for about 252 times. She orbited the Earth 252, that is 252 times. Then, after the completion of her first mission successfully, she was again selected for her second mission in 2000. But unfortunately, for scheduling problem and technical problems, scheduling conflicts and technical problems, this mission was delayed again and again, and ultimately the mission started in 2003. In 2003 on 1st February, and she traveled to outer space and completed her 16 days mission, and were coming back to Earth, but it was a regret that only 16 minutes before her landing on Earth, she died. Her space shuttle became disintegrated. Her space shuttle became destroyed at the time of re-entry in our atmosphere, or in the atmosphere of the Earth. It was a tragedy, of course. Kalpana Chawla was the first Indian woman in the history for traveling to outer space, and the second person from our subcontinent. These are the stories of these two women. They achieved something great for the history, in the history of our human being, in the history of this earth. And you go through the text and read the text completely or carefully, and find out the vocabulary, find out the synonyms and antonyms of the words, and find out the meanings, find out the derivatives, and complete it successfully. Okay, thank you very much.